there was one day, I forget how we even got on this, but we had the same dream the night before.
Like, for someone to read a paper I've written, like one person, and be like, oh shit, I've never thought about it that way. And like, that sparks a new sort of avenue of investigation and exploration for them. Or I make a painting and one person has like a really profound experience with it and like they find it really inspiring, even if they don't even do anything with that energy, but just that form of connection and like catalyzing something.
Yeah,
it's
the
really
transference there.
It's such a small scale of change. Like, really, it's just to do something and it have consequences in a way.
With being an entrepreneur, similarly to you and selling your art and me selling like life coaching, it's at least bringing the worker as close to the means of production as possible, even though it's technically under the system of capitalism. It's a much more ethical mode of it than like a huge multi-billion corporation where the people at the top
like
get richer and the
labor and
and the people at the
workers and stuff. Yeah,
exactly, which is like the evils of that exemplified and amplified. I wrestle with it because at the same time, like, what am I to do? What am I to do? And if that is that not the spookiest reality of them all?
Halloween.
We're busting philosophy out of the old stuffy lecture hall and setting it loose on the world of creativity. Join us as we explore the unwritten aesthetic. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to an extremely normal, average, nothing new or different episode of The Unwritten Aesthetic.
Totally normal.
And today we're writing a new aesthetic. Lauren, would you like to tell us about your look today?
Oh, I just kind of thought I'd try something new. I've been kind of researching, exploring different makeup tutorials. And apparently this is like
it's
kind of a trendy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I was thinking
like
for a while that maybe it was a little bit out there.
The red and black lines like on the face and like
a graphic liner?
Yes, a graphic liner is very in, like liquid lipstick.
And I see you're kind of doing like the blush, the blush trend. And it matches your shirt perfectly.
Thank you. Extremely matching, but also complete discordance in your outfit is the trend right now.
That's
like
the
having
goal.
both at once.
And I think that really, like, you captured it with the tie too.
Thank you.
Like the clash of colors is really like
and like there's like blue and blue.
Oh, okay.
but don't be confused.
A discordant harmony. I love it.
Exactly.
Don't be confused. Yeah, no. We're dressed as Paul Klee puppets.
Yes.
For
if
those
you're not
of you who have
familiar
seen
with Paul Klee or Paul Klee's puppets, we did do a whole episode on Paul Klee and Heidegger's writings on Paul Klee and his puppets, which we were extremely. As you can see, this is where I have my lipstick inspiration from. Is our friend on the left?
I was hoping neither one of us would. Can you see that? Because that guy, I was like, that's too much. Like, we can be spooky scary.
I thought about going for it full, but then I was like, no. I need to be able to actually talk.
Because you'll have to look at it the whole time. And
and this is already pretty distracting. Yes. So, a la Paul Klee puppets, for Halloween. This is our fun philosophers do Halloween vibe, and this is Lauren's idea, and I think it looks so good.
Even if
I
you weren't, I was like, I kind of feel like I have to.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you were on board with it.
It's so fun. And
cool.
Yeah. If you are interested
Hopefully
in why we're obsessed with the puppets, like I'll link. You can click one of the corners up at the top wherever it'll be, and you'll be able to see the episode. And I'll link it in the description if you're listening to, so that you can go check out that episode and us talking about the silly puppets and discovering Paul Klee puppets and becoming obsessed with them. So
I didn't know about them.
Yeah,
until
I only learned about them through researching for that episode. We were just girlies thinking we were going into talking about surrealist art, and look at us now.
Well, it's funny too because I was noticing, like, I did my puppet inspired makeup kind of like at first I was like, oh, maybe I should pick a specific one to do. And I asked you, you're like, I'm just gonna kind of mix and match. And I was like,
Vibe
that's
match.
very much in the spirit of Paul Klee, I would say. Is like
Yeah.
just to approach it like play. And so that's what I did. And I was like, oh, I'll put a line here, I'll put a line there. And it's kind of
Fun.
funny, like how quickly a playful sort of activity can end up looking really unsettling and scary, which I think is very much reminiscent of the puppets themselves. Like, because
Absolutely.
he made them for his son, uh, and like, so he was using them like as puppets for his son,
That's so
but some of
interesting.
them are so scary.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and I think that's a really good point just in general, because there's so many things that are in that kind of uncanny valley world that is like tapping into something that there is this deep fear with in our unconscious or subconscious or collective unconscious that is both Freudian and Jungian a little bit, in the sense of like your childhood does kind of impact certain things. And when we think about like horror movies today and horror tales, like Annabelle and dolls are some of the like spookiest things. Little kids being possessed by demons, like little demon children are very much like a spooky thing. So I think you raise a really good point, as in this episode we're going to be talking about the philosophy of spookiness and philosophically spooky adjacent things. That's actually a really poignant remark, that like actually when we tap into elements of the unconscious that are lesser explored, that oftentimes is something more like playful, joyful, childlike. And I wonder if there's like the link is somewhere in the taboo, right? Like if
hmm,
that's part of what
yeah.
pulls this like uncanny, unsettling nature out of things that should be just like silly.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. I just you saying that kind of brought up this thought, but there are times like when you're falling asleep and you're not quite dreaming, you're like in the antechamber of dreams
Mm-hmm.
where sort of just random imagery is coming before your eyes. And oftentimes if I kind of tune into that and I'm like mindful of that and I just kind of let it do whatever it wants, sometimes it's like kind of scary. Like the imagery
Yeah.
itself is kind of unsettling. And I've also noticed this in my art too, like when I would do acrylic studies like a year or so ago in Hanover, where I'd go to the thing where people would come together and just paint. Um and a lot of people thought what I was painting was kind of scary and unsettling.
Hmm.
And I never really thought about it that way, but I guess because it was when I was painting faces like distorted and with really like unusual colors and stuff like that.
Sure.
Um, but to me, like obviously it felt like play.
Right,
So,
right.
but
Well,
something about just like going with the flow of that can lead you
yeah.
into kind of what may seem to be unsettling territory. I don't know. It's not really something I've ever given much thought to.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you think? Because one thing I've also been thinking about, in which we'll get into this a little bit later, but I mentioned to you before we started recording that like with spooky season and everything, I've been really engaging with like the archetype of the witch and what that means, um, and some of Jung's thoughts around that and that kind of collective unconscious archetype, and how it really is actually about figures or energies or aspects of life that were taboo and told to hide in the darkness. And then because they were told, like, you're a threat to the status quo, we didn't know about them. And that's what made it scary. Like, witches have only
mm,
become scary, this scary image in recent times, because it wasn't talked about, because patriarchy, capitalism, establishment, whatever
well,
you want
also, I
to
mean,
name.
I don't know if this goes against or if this complements what you were just saying, but I immediately thought like the witch trials and all that stuff, like it
Yeah,
was going against the established religious dogma of the
exactly.
time, and also it was like, oh, women are doing things.
Yeah, when
No,
throughout
nuh-uh.
No, they
you can't be
can't.
doing that. Yeah. So, but I don't really know much about the like the witch as an archetype. Is
Yeah.
that a Jungian archetype?
I think it's more like it's not a classical Jungian archetype,
Okay.
but in the sense of like the spirit of that and what has come out of Jungian
Okay.
thought, there is a more like esoteric tradition that has developed. Like now there's a very like westernized psychological like Myers-Briggs
Mm-hmm.
vibe around a lot of Jung's work that I think
Oh.
misses a lot of the like spookier kind of piece of Jung.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this group of like other thought that I think ties in the kind of madness of Jung a little bit more. And there's some literature around the witch in that realm and kind of like if we applied the traditional Jungian archetypal lens to this tradition, what does that mean for the witch and what the witch represents? But one thing that kept coming up for me, so the witch really represents the divine feminine that has been suppressed in Western tradition. But also the ability to receive without necessarily having to like effort or work. But in this very Lilithian way as well, the idea of like not wanting to have kids, like receiving rather than producing, right? Not wanting to get married, like deeply independent, and also being put in the dark, like these feminine aspects being completely closeted and sheltered away. And I think you bringing up the witch trials is a really great example of that because one, yes, there are magical practitioners throughout history that have always had to practice their magic in an underground, secretive way. And because it's not discursively discussed, like, then there's just human fear around it as opposed to like curiosity. And the fear says, let's shut it down. But also, most of the women burned during the witch trials, it's a combination of like, yes, there was some mental illness and mental health stuff going on, but also like medicine women and midwives, like women with knowledge about how to work with nature and different herbs and the cycles of the moon, but also the female body and what women need when they're giving birth, and having knowledge around feminine connection and cycles was this scary thing, was what the witch trials largely was burning, was the knowledge around women. Um,
Mm.
and so the witch is very much now, as we're seeing like a collective movement towards this archetype, specifically with things like WitchTok and Witchstagram, but also like more and more people that are like
Witch
literally
talk?
WitchTok. It's the side of TikTok that
Oh no,
witches are
no.
on.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. Some of it is
Okay.
I have mixed feelings. It depends on the witches you find. But
What kind of
there's
stuff is going on? Sorry. Yeah, finish your thought.
no, no,
My
no.
bad.
Well, it I think we're seeing a mass revival in interest about this because the collective unconscious is moving to a place of reclamation with the divine feminine and with our connection to nature and with these more ancient practices that are largely Eastern, largely receptive, largely like in the dark, in this like moon yin energy as opposed to like sun light yang energy. And I think that that's really what we collectively need right now, is coming back into balance. And I think we're seeing that energy mirrored in a bunch of women now. Like everyone has crystals, everyone has incense, like tarot cards are normal. You know, of course there's still
Yeah.
people who are scared about the things, but I think this pattern is really interesting. And so to speak to your question about witch talk, it's very much like people just doing tarot readings, and it's like if this message
Yeah.
comes across your For You page, like keep what works, leave the rest, you know, and see if this
Mhm.
adds any guidance. Or people doing dowsing rods and answering questions for people, and people doing like tours of their different rituals and stuff that they do,
Yeah.
which again, I have mixed feelings about, because some of the magic of it is that it's in the dark and is that it's secretive and is that there's a certain initiation with certain things. But at the same time, having a collective revival that allows more people to have access to it that aren't just a certain group of people, I think is great. I've been ranting on and on. I would love to know your thoughts.
I asked you to rant, and I thank you for ranting. Yeah, I mean, I also have mixed feelings about that. Just the one that immediately came up was like, I would definitely, I mean, it's something I felt in myself too, a sense of rebellion or pushing back upon the, like technological. Can you hear Spinach chirping in the back?
It's cute. It's good.
He's gonna catch a bug soon, I'm sure.
King.
But yeah. He's very strong and smart and clever and perfect in every way. Oh,
it's true.
Oh, there he is.
There's a little tail.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like there are people sort of pushing back upon this technological domination in every sphere of our lives by returning to like holistic medicine, more like, you know, and the like. And I probably should mention, off topic, I am recovering from a concussion.
That's right.
If you haven't noticed, my cognitive capacities are diminished. But so if I'm thinking and talking a little bit slower than usual, that's why.
German bus system, you have an hour to respond.
You have an hour. German bus system? Go off in the comments.
Go off in the comments.
Yeah, I fell on the bus and I hit my head.
I'm sorry.
It was really embarrassing and crazy. Like you know when you're stumbling and you're like, oh, I'm stumbling, and you don't actually think you're gonna fully fall down.
You
and then
think you're gonna catch yourself, but yeah.
But you don't. Yeah. So, anyways, yes, but the contrast that I'm noticing here is like this increased acceptance and sort of proliferation of like witchy activities and discussions could be a reflection of that rebellion and that saying like, I don't like the way things are going. Like, I want to reclaim some of my own autonomy in like what I give my attention to, how I spend my time, what aspects of my life are just like widely known through like who I'm giving my data to, and stuff like that. But it's also kind of strange because like WitchTok, like it's happening on these social media platforms. Like it's using this technology to rebel against the technology. And I don't know, I question whether that is an adequate form of rebellion, if that's really what it is. Again, I'm making so many assumptions here. I'm just sort of like free associating, just talking out loud.
Everything you're saying is on point.
Okay, cool. I mean, if it's not,
well,
if it's not on point, that's okay too.
Right. In my opinion too, right? Like, let us know in the comments what your...
I think it's always like a mixed bag, because it's like, on the one hand, sharing this knowledge with others could kind of be helpful in many ways. On the other hand, I question how, like, if some of those public witchy practices are done in good faith, because I know, I mean, I'm sure there are people who do it like for money, like, oh, like send me a gift on TikTok or however it works, and like I'll do like a tarot reading for you or something like that. And it's not that that's necessarily bad, like to sell and promote like your services or your business online, but then it's like if it's possible to tap into those sort of like a higher power energy to like for divination, if it's possible, does it require that both people are like in the same room together, like to have that energy to feed off of? Like you practice tarot, so maybe like you're the person to ask this, like, is it different to read someone's tarot cards in person than to do it. I think you do it online sometimes too, right?
I have several thoughts. So one, a lot of what you're speaking to actually speaks very directly to me because, like, really great example is the other day I posted a TikTok of a like witch supply haul from the Labyrinth, which is
Oh,
a
cool. I love the Labyrinth.
Dallas oldest witch shop. It's a lovely, lovely place. And every time I go, I'm like, I want to take pictures and make videos and like, just because that's my like modern Gen Z feeling of like, I want to capture this because there's something to be captured here, right?
Yeah.
And that's where my mind goes to talk about it now, is make a video about it. But I very rarely do because there is something about my spiritual practice that feels a bit more private. But for some reason, this time I was like, no, I do want to make a video. And I think where I've come to in my relationship with like using technology and establishment to try and also rebel and overcome techne and establishment, is just to be intentional with it, right? Like you just really have to be aware of the energies that you're playing into. And that video did really well and got really great feedback. And a bunch of people were like, I wish, like, let me know next time you're going. Maybe we can meet up and grab coffee.
Oh,
like, I'd love
cute.
to make more like witch friends in Dallas. I'd love to have friends that like talk
nice.
about this stuff. So does it lead to real world connection that is outside of establishment and techne as well? I would like to think so.
Nice.
But even posting that, still I had that reservation of like, but this is something sacred to me. And does putting it in this format desecrate it in a certain way? So it's certainly something I feel. And similarly to doing like tarot virtually or my work virtually, everything, I also feel very weird about charging people for certain things because I'm like, oh my gosh, I am just playing into the system, the capitalist system that we exist within. But at the same time, I have bills to pay and I have food to eat and like a car payment and, you know, all sorts of things that it's like, that's just reality. And I don't want to give
talent.
Right. And I don't want to, at least talking to some of my, one of my friends who does marketing, but is also like deeply spiritual. When we talk about this, she was like, Reese, your skill set here is worth something. And it's unfortunate that the way that we ascribe worth in our current system is money. But that is, like, money is just a part of the energetic exchange. And that was a helpful reframe, even though I still feel weird about it. Because ultimately, like, going back to the archetype of the witch and talking about, like, wanting to reclaim this autonomy that you're talking about, right? Like, this thing that we, like, this piece of agency, this piece of self that I don't just have to be a cog in the machine. That is very much the witch archetype. And one thing that I saw in my research too was like a woman who lives in the woods, like off grid on her own land before women could own land or own anything because they were property themselves. Like,
of course.
The idea of a woman having a relationship with land in the woods off grid was scary, but why was that scary? Because it was threatening to landlords and the system that exists. And also, witches probably have a very different relationship to the land than in Western society, how we think of ownership. Like most animist and spiritual cultures don't think that you can own land. And that's a really big piece of like indigenous American peoples and tribes. When England people came over and were like, whose land is this? They were like, what do you mean whose land? Like, it's the land. And then they were like, great, so it's ours.
So we
yeah.
so we can, so that means, yeah, we can take it.
So
Perfect.
mine, me, mine, give.
And they were like, what the fuck?
Exactly. So I think this idea of like ownership, autonomy is definitely absolutely there. And then also how that gets into like intellectual ownership and autonomy. to go back to your original question about being in the same room and connecting about these things, like that is another piece of this that is really complex for me because it is different. It does feel different doing certain things virtually versus in person. However, one thing that I've really come to appreciate about being able to connect virtually with people is knowing that if you believe that everything is energy, right, which ultimately it is in a like physics sense, you can connect at the level of the field, and it takes some more direct like insight and like tapping into something. Like it definitely feels different because even if we're connecting at like an atomic level, at the energetic level of the field to one another, like you and I are still like our energies are just further away from one another than someone sitting right across from me. So I've found ways to make it feel more connective and more like in flow when I'm connecting with someone virtually, but it is harder to get there for me because there is more, like it feels like the wall is a little bit higher to climb. Like you can do it, but it's a taller wall to connect across when you're virtual. And with all of this, the complexity of like using technology, using social media, using capitalist businesses to do this work of reclaiming autonomy and justice and agency in the midst of everything else that's going on in the world. A quote that's been coming up for me a lot is the Lorde quote, "You can't use the master's tools to dismantle the master's house." And I wrestle with that one a lot because I feel chained to the master's tools a lot of the time. Like I then
I don't know if that's
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that quote. I'm really just speaking off the top of my dome today because
please.
there's nothing in my dome. It's just brain spaghetti, so I'm just...
Well, you know I love your brain spaghetti, so
Thank you.
I want to hear it.
Well, no, I don't know. I just think that's such a silly quote because you got to start somewhere, you know? And just because there are aspects of like capitalism, for example, that are unethical and fucked up and unfair, it doesn't mean that it's inherently bad. Like maybe that's controversial, but I like if there are aspects of a system or of a situation that at the very foundation are, if not good, at least neutral, I think it's reasonable to try to use those fundamental baseline tools to try to improve the system, or at the very least, improve your own life. And then ideally, you know, in the existentialist fashion, living in a way that capitalizes on your freedom while also respecting and at best facilitating the freedom of others. I don't know.
No, I
And like
agree
it's the
with
same
you.
situation with my art. Like there've been many times where it feels I don't love social media. Like it feels kind of icky to me to like self-promote, you know? And like my art is like part of me. So it's like I'm promoting myself in a way that feels kind of icky sometimes. And it feel like it's really difficult for me to do that in a way that feels genuine. And like I want to share my art because, you know, I want it to be more of a community versus like a solitary practice, which art can very easily become. And if people want my art, then I would love for them to buy my art, you know? And so, and social media is a really great way to do that nowadays. Like, I don't have to have the middleman of like a gallery to sell my work or to, you know, publicize my work. And that's really cool and everything. But there are definitely times when it feels like I'm taking something sacred, like how you described it, and almost like desecrating it or like diminishing it.
Yeah.
Um, It's like in the same way where like when you take a video and then you upload it to social media, the quality of the video, like it like compresses it. It kind of feels like that in a way.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's kind of a hard thing to wrestle with.
it is. And I want to underline what you said about capitalism earlier too, because I think
I don't know if my
it's
thought process was coherent. Shout
oh
out.
no, I think it makes sense because I think there's a difference between debating the conclusion of late stage capitalism that we're in and the current like pains that we are all under because of how the system has worked. But largely, but that's a different debate than is this system in and of itself bad? If everyone in any system was a completely ethical, quote unquote, good person, whatever that actually looks like, theoretically any system would stay ethical, right? Like, is a economic structure in and of itself evil, or are the people running it evil? And that's a very different question than is what's happening to people right now in our economic system evil? Yes, I think that's like an agreement there. But like you said, are there ways that we can use the baseline tools of this economic system that we can't change overnight to try and, like you said, at least reclaim some freedom for ourselves and at best help others do that too. And I think that that's really hard because for me in that debate, I very much feel like with being an entrepreneur, similarly to you and selling your art and me selling like life coaching and my like intellectual property and ideas, it's at least bringing the worker as close to the means of production as possible, and the only person directly benefiting from that is me. Even though it's technically under the system of capitalism, it's a much more ethical mode of it than like a huge multi-billion corporation where the people at the top
Like
get richer and the
labor and
right and the people at the
workers and stuff. Yeah,
exactly, which is like the evils of that exemplified and amplified. So it does get complicated, especially when we can't just, like you said, march into like the leaders' world offices and be like, here's an idea, let's change it. We have to do what we can with certain master's tools, right? Like, as much as I agree with that quote from Lorde and really understand what she's saying, like I said, I wrestle with it because at the same time, like, what am I to do? What am I to do? And
yeah.
if that is that not the spookiest reality of them all?
Halloween thing.
Halloween.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe this is something that I'm honestly don't really lament. I'm not lamenting this every day. I mean,
Sure.
obviously I know it's bad, but if I'm being completely honest with myself, I'm not really doing anything to change the system or fight against it. I'm basically just doing what I can to survive within the system in a way that is beneficial for myself and not harmful to others. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just speaking on like an economic level. On
Yeah.
like a more like philosophical level, obviously I want to share my art, I want to share my ideas, which is why we do stuff like this.
Yeah.
But then if I'm really being honest, what's the purpose of sharing my thoughts and sharing my art? I'm not really thinking about the change that I may possibly produce in the world on a large scale. Like, I think about the possible change I can ignite in the world on a very small scale. Did I say large scale or I can't remember what I like. Seriously, I'm thinking so hard. I'm trying to like keep the sentence, you know, those sentence trees. I'm trying so hard to like keep it in my mind.
You're diagramming sentences as
I
you
literally
speak.
am, and I'll say like a dependent clause, and it's just like just gone. It's just gone out of my head.
No, you are so good.
what I'm trying to say is um for someone to read a paper I've written, like one person, and be like, oh shit, I've never thought about it that way. And like that sparks a new sort of avenue of investigation and exploration for them. Or I make a painting and one person has like a really profound experience with it and like they find it really inspiring, even if they don't even do anything with that energy, but just that form of connection and
Yeah.
uh like catalyzing something.
Yeah,
It's
the
really
transference there.
it's such a small scale of change. Like really it's just to do something and it have consequences in a way. I'm just kind of being honest with myself because I don't know, maybe it was the concussion that sparked this, but I've really been thinking about it lately and I'm like the life I'm living, like I feel like I'm going to live a very mediocre life.
You
Sometimes
know,
I really think that, and I
it's
I think the scary part of that is that I'm okay with that. Like I'm comfortable with that, and I don't I don't want that to be the case. Like I don't know, I feel like everyone grows up kind of being like, I want to be famous, I want to be a superstar, and like it's different in every age. Like when we were growing up, it was like, oh, I want to be a movie star, or I want to be like a pop star or something, and now it's like I want to be an influencer or whatever.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like, and I mean, for me, it's like I want to be a great philosopher. I want people to value and wrestle with my ideas, not agree with them, but just wrestle with them
Yeah.
and engage with them. And like my art, I want that to spark a dialogue of its own. And I don't know. I think if I like realistically, that is achievable, but on such a small scale that it's like I'm not going to be great on a
Hmm.
large scale.
So many
But I've been
thoughts.
pretty pessimistic lately.
Well, and I was going to say, like, I think so much depends on your definitions of like great and impact and like being okay with like this quote unquote small scale impact. Like, what is small scale versus large scale to begin with? Because I think on one hand, like, if being quote unquote great looks like being a household name and everyone wrestling with certain ideas that you have, then there's a difference between like settling and saying like, well, and if that doesn't happen, like we'll just have to like let go of that hope because it's a little maybe like naive or Pollyanna to think that I could do that. That would be, I think, a more pessimistic view. Whereas I think there's a difference between that and what I think I hear you saying, which is I am happy with the impact that I make on people. And even if it is a handful of people that I deeply impact, like the ripple effects of that are great. And that is what makes me great.
Yeah.
And like what does a mediocre life actually look like? And to me, I think the only true mediocrity is feeling this sense of calling for something and choosing not to do it. But if you do it,
Yeah.
and you're okay with the scope of what having done that thing looks like, to me, that's not mediocre. That's a different manifestation of what that energy can look like. But I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying, though, in terms of like
I
scale of
think,
impact.
yeah, it's scale of impact that's kind of the topic there. But really, the pessimistic side of it, when I was like, I was laying in bed, couldn't sleep because I have insomnia and it's just bad. But, and I was like, I think I'm really, I don't know. I think I'm just, my biggest fear is cognitive decline. Like, I do not fear death. I fear a low quality of life. And for someone who
Mm,
is very much like values the cerebral side of life, among other things, cognitive decline is something that's very scary to me. And
yeah,
this is my fifth concussion, y'all. This is
which
number
is
5.
crazy
That's
actually to think about.
it's yes, it's very bad. And it's just and Alzheimer's runs in my family, so like I'm screwed. But I think, and like sort of I don't know, I've been feeling sort of like an imposter syndrome kind of creep back into my day-to-day thoughts, mostly because of the concussion. But
Mm.
um yeah, it's just kind of
What about the concussion do you think sparked that? Because I hear how it's connected to this like fear of cognitive decline, but how does that
yeah.
then translate to imposter syndrome?
Well, because it's like it's one of those moments like getting a concussion or like COVID, for example, when everyone was sent home and this thing that I had attached basically all of my like personal identity to at the time, which was like university, was just like
Mm.
obliterated. It was like, oh, it's not spring break anymore. Y'all just stay home. We'll figure it out on Zoom, but don't come back.
Yeah.
Like in those sorts of moments, I'm like, oh, this thing that I attach so much of my personal identity, my personal value to, it makes me confront what I have left if that were to disappear or if
Mm.
that were to be somehow impaired. Um, and it's kind of made me realize like I've fallen right back into the trap of attaching most of my personal value to my academic achievements or um like how academic my way of life is, which
Like
is
intellectual prowess.
yeah. And it's like the fear to me is like if I would lose that, then I would lose my sense of identity as it stands now.
Which I do think that it's an interesting, it kind of relates to what we were talking about last episode, how you confront different challenges in your life on different
It's
levels
one
and
of those one that
cycles.
keeps returning.
Yeah, because also I can so see how this is a complexified version of it, though, where like to attach your identity and like persona to an external thing that is like university is different than your personal intellect, which is an aspect of who you are. And
Yeah.
what we know about cognitive decline, like you would lose some sense of self at a certain point of cognitive decline. So it's an added layer of like, no, that there's some, I don't want to say merit to the fear because I don't want to like validate that you should be afraid of it.
No,
Not
I
to
mean,
invalidate your fears, but I think that this one like is almost more rational. Does that make sense? Where it's like, because it is an aspect of you that is like, well, how do you, it's like the Theseus ship thing, right? Like at what point am I no longer me? Is losing some
yeah.
aspect of my intellect, of my brain, of my capacity for academic thinking. At what point am I not me anymore? Because that is a part of who I am, not just where you
Yeah.
get your worth from. Like, where does that worth actually reside within? Not just, it's like, okay, great. We all want our worth to be inherent and internal to the self. Now that we're internal to the self, where within the self is the worth? And if I completely lose every aspect of myself, then does worth actually matter at all if I still think I'm worthy without any part of me? I don't
Yeah, I
know.
mean, it's an
Maybe I'm
interesting
not.
concept in its own right, you know. I mean, I don't know. I think self-worth is just an interesting. Sorry, I got a little bit distracted because I
No,
went
that's
to the
okay.
doctor cuz I bonked my head, you know. And I got to see my brain. I got a CT scan of my brain.
Ooh, how's your brain?
There she
Whoa,
is.
whoa,
She's
that's
fine.
your
But
brain.
that's my brain. That's me.
It doesn't look
But
like
look,
spaghetti at all.
I know. No, this one's funny because you can. I'm trying to get it not glaring, but you can see my eyebrow piercings
Oh, that's so funny. Why does it look like a
because
little bear?
I
Do you
don't
see it?
know.
Oh, hey, people who see the bear, rise up in the comments.
Rise up in the comment. Yeah, I couldn't take my eyebrow piercings out because I've never taken them out. But it's like
That's so funny though.
I got to meet a long lost friend
Wow, what
or
was
like
that experience like?
a long lost relative that I've heard so much about but never seen before.
Yeah.
Um What do you mean? What was it like to get to see my brain?
Yeah, because like
It
saying
was
you get to
cool.
meet a long lost relative almost makes it sound separate to you, but it is such an integral part of who you are that like you
Well, that's the
can't meet
thing. It's like,
something that is you, right? So yeah, I don't know. Like
yeah, I
that's
guess I
just so
am
cool.
still thinking in such dualistic terms. I don't know, like, you talk about the brain, but like, if you've never seen your brain, it's just sort of this abstract, like, form, almost like a platonic form that just like exists.
Yeah.
And now it's like, wow, it's really there. That's what it looks like.
That's what's in there.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of makes me personify and like I was you have like a more abstract idea of my brain.
Hmm.
Since I don't get to see it all the time. But I don't
Yeah.
know, that just kind of me thinking out loud.
No,
But
I love that.
I think my
I think
strategy moving oh,
no, you go, you go.
well, I was gonna say I think my strategy moving forward with like the concussion stuff is like it's it's kind of scary to think like my cognition is changing. Not for the
Mm.
better, but like my thoughts are so fragmented now, even more than they were. I already have ADHD out the wazoo, so my thoughts couldn't get any more fragmented. But like to kind of just roll with that,
Yeah.
not to just fully resign myself to the fact it's like, oh, I can't think in complete sentences anymore. I guess this is my life now. But like to lean into that a little bit more and not take it as a sign of like how valuable my cognition is, or like my
Yeah.
the structure of my intellect, as a friend of mine puts it. Um and just kind of embrace that. Like I would really love to, I don't think they'll let me do this, but if I could write my master's thesis in like little fragmentary thoughts that you could kind of read in any order you wanted to.
Mm.
I forget the word for it. Let me look it up. Is it aphorisms?
Oh yeah, like how the gay science is
Yeah.
structured. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be cool to do it like that.
No,
Yeah.
I love the idea of structuring it in aphorisms and considering one of the greatest or quote unquote greatest, like again, how do we define great? But one of the most renowned philosophers of all time, his one of his seminal works being written in aphorisms. I don't know why that would be insufficient
Yeah,
for a
Adorno
thesis, but
too.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And
Um
Wittgenstein? I mean, they're not
and
really aphorisms, but like
it's a
uh,
similar
yeah, like he
vibe.
wrote at the beginning of his uh was it the investigations? Yeah. Like I would have loved to write a longer work, but I never could do it. Like shaming himself, and like because he couldn't write a longer work. And meanwhile, it's like again one of the most
Yeah,
famous
but
philosophical works.
it's really powerful, I think, to like tackle and wrestle with this relationship that you have with your intellect in not just discursive form, but like actual form, right? In representing it physically through aphorisms. It's like, that's how my thoughts kind of feel. And that's part of what I question about my intellect, but also part of like how I do philosophy, and to use that as like a strength, as a feature, not a bug of the
Yeah.
system in what you're creating, I think is really powerful. And like going back to the archetype of the witch, there is some sort of like reclamation in that, right? That like,
Yeah.
why is fragmentary thinking in this um way that you have a relationship to your thoughts even a weaker way of thinking? Like,
Well, I think it's. Oh, go ahead.
no, my only other thought was just in addition that it's like, is that just because what we've been told is a good way of thinking is this like linear format that is very
Yeah.
westernized, and like there's we know all the issues with the canon and academia, blah 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 blah. So it's like,
Yeah.
is
I mean, writing
this
conventions can become quite a limitation at times. It
right?
makes sense. I mean, I think this is one of those times where the phrase like, "Oh, you have to know the rules to break the rules"
Yeah,
is important, because you with writing, if you want to be understood, you have to write in a way that is comprehensible to most people, like to whoever your target audience is. And so having conventions for different um genres is really important. But I think like writing like style is something that is never really taught, at least not in
Yeah.
philosophy. It's never taught, it's never discussed. If it is discussed, it's like whoever the author we're reading, what their style is in order to better interpret what their work as a whole means, or what they mean by this particular passage. Let's look at how they, use this type of word or sentence structure in other works. And like, I just feel like that's when my writing feels the worst, is when I'm trying to write it in a way for someone else. And it's kind of, it's never one or the other. Like, if I'm writing an application, I want it to sound like me, but I also want it to sound polished, and in order to fit myself into the mold of someone who would get accepted to this program, or who would win this award or whatever. So it's always a give and take, like, speaking authentically as myself while also keeping the target audience in mind. And but I
think there's a connection to the Tools of the Master's House piece of it too, right? That's like, how can you, like, I want to do this great philosophical work. Like, I want to do the great work. But in order to do a great work, a part of that is coherence and comprehensibility and accessibility. So we do have to keep in mind, like, the format and structures and forms that are largely acceptable to the zeitgeist, because those are the ones that are taught. Those are the ones that are understood. Those are the ones that, like, the masses will understand and will be able to follow.
like grammar.
And so, right. And so there's this, like, balance with, like, okay, so I do have to do this, but how much do you have to play the game to do what you want to do? But what you actually want to do is game busting, in a sense. But then it's like, it makes me think a little bit about, like, politicians who get into politics to, like, change politics, but then end up being an evil politician themselves. And, like, is that what happens to every artist, philosopher, TikToker? Like, I don't know, that anyone who's trying to buck any system in any way.
It requires a lot of self-reflection, and, like, this is something that I think about a lot, because, I read a lot of Heidegger, and with reading someone like that and sort of, like, specializing in that, you definitely run the risk of not really fully understanding it and just sort of buying into the jargon, just using the jargon and not really. And at that point, it is like, well, it might as well just be a cult if I'm just going to adopt the jargon and just spew it out of my mouth and not really try to understand it, and then, scrutinize it, or, like, use it as a springboard for my own philosophical inquiries that may be completely different from that, like, philosophical tradition, or, like, Heideggerian philosophy. And it, like, I think about it a lot too with, like, the podcast, because I'm like, how often is it that, like, in conversations like this, I'm just rehashing old syntheses that I've had, like, versus how often am I really putting together new ideas and actively forming new ideas that will become my own sort of canon, like, and oftentimes I'm just kind of saying stuff that I've said before, and like, that's another thing. Like, maybe the concussion is useful for this, because things that I'm not advising you to go home and get a concussion, everyone.
Don't fall on the bus.
Don't fall. Hold on to the railing on the bus, because sometimes you think it's stopped because it's a replacement bus service that you weren't planning on taking, so you've never taken this route before. But sometimes it's not at the bus stop, it's just at a stoplight, but you can't see it because you're short. So you let go of the railing and then you fall down. So hold on to the railing.
Everyone, put a finger down if that's ever
Never have I ever fallen on the bus because I thought it was stopped. No.
Sorry.
Guilty. But yeah,
Guilty.
I mean, guilty. But this is something that I'm like, there are times where I'm like, oh, I'm able to talk and like that makes sense. But it's like, it's because it's not hard for you to put that thought together because you've put it together like 50 other times. And you're just saying, like, you know,
Isn't that in a sense canonizing it, like what you're saying though? Like, yes, every time you, like, there's something so magical about the like moment of like, oh, that, and we got the next one or the next thing or the next like
yeah,
kind of little dancey that happens in your brain. Why am I doing this? That's so funny. But you know what I mean. The next like,
I do.
Ooh.
Like epiphany, yeah.
Yes, that's a beautiful word for it. But at the same time, for the epiphany, this is the epiphany dance.
So scary. Okay. wait, for the thumbnail?
Oh my god. Okay, if we don't get 1 million views, I send it back.
1 million views?
but in some way, for like creating this body of work, you do kind of have to rehash some of your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And restate them. And so it's like, once again, I think it's a balance between like,
absolutely,
there are so many like of the thinkers of our time that came up with one good idea and are just cashing it in on that. And they like, new research comes out, new discoveries, new ideas about things, and they do not critique their old idea. They do not question it. They're like, this is my thing and I'm going to stick with it. And that is honestly, besides like actual crimes against humanity, one of the things that like makes me lose respect for someone so quickly. I'm like, how dare you call yourself a thinker or a philosopher if you are not going to criticize your own thoughts as things come out?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you do need to concretize something to put it out into the world in that moment. So I think it's just a balance.
Nuanced. It's nuanced, and like rehashing your old ideas, it's not just to rehash them, it's also like in the way, apparently, like every time you retrieve a memory, it's a little bit different. That might just be one of those old wives' tales. I don't know. I'll have to take more looks at the pictures in my brain to be sure.
Right.
But it's sort of the same thing. Like you know, when someone's like, oh, what are you researching? And you have to kind of give the elevator pitch of what you're researching and what you're writing about. It's not just a rehashing, it's also like a reworking, a revising.
And there have been times that like in doing that, like I kind of have like a wait, that is what I'm doing, you know, and it shifts something.
Absolutely. So yeah, again, I totally agree with you. It's always sort of a balance. So it's more nuanced than just like, oh, I've already said this sort of thought before. So it's like immediately like I must be saying it this second time in bad faith. It's not that. It's just like I do catch myself sometimes just I don't know. I just think it's worth thinking about how often am I having new ideas, and how often am I just saying this thing that I've believed for a long time, but really haven't critically evaluated it
in a while.
Recently enough. Yeah.
And I don't want to minimize that feeling either, because I do relate to it, especially in you saying like on the podcast too, and like comparing it to other episodes. Like sometimes it's weird to go back and listen to them and be like, what? Do I actually think that? Like sometimes I'll just say something and then I'll hear myself say it and it's like, huh. But also there is this like, with you saying like the cult of Heidegger, right? And just reiterating jargon versus actually diving in and analyzing it. Hearing you talk about that I think is one of the things that I admire most about your academic approach. I think you are one of the people that truly like strives to forge your own understanding for yourself. And I am constantly like impressed and inspired to do that for myself through how you approach it, truly, because you're not someone, at least in my experience, anytime you use jargon, it does not feel like you're just kind of pulling it to be jargony. It's like, no, Lauren understands what this term means and is intentionally using it here
Yeah.
because it's the best term for what you mean. And I know
Sometimes.
that
That's what I strive to do, but sometimes it's like, yeah. I mean, the number of times
Yeah.
I've heard Heidegger people say the presencing of the presently present and not explain what it means. I'm like, I guess I'm just supposed to know what that means. Like,
Yeah.
that's one area of Heidegger that I have yet to fully wrap my head around, like presence versus the present versus like, yeah. That's one area that I can't speak confidently about that because I have no fucking clue what that's supposed to mean.
And honestly, sometimes with Heidegger, I think that's the point. He can be purposefully obtuse sometimes.
Well, no, I
and
mean,
it's like,
there was,
dude.
I can't remember where it was, but and this might also be an old wives' tale. Maybe I will look it up because Heidegger, like he said, like to be understood is like philosophical suicide or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe some teacher told me that.
And I think
making itself intelligible is suicide for wait. A misinterpret. Okay, related to be understood is suicide for philosophy. Oh, which is a critique from. Okay, it's a critique by a philosopher of Heidegger. Leotard.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm glad I looked that up because
that's interesting.
But hey, that's also the AI overview, and how dare it's a shame my eyes even scrolled over that. I have to go wash my eyes out now. No, I can't. Hey, it's the first thing on the page. What am I gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
that's interesting
crazy.
too.
I had a teacher tell me that.
Because on one hand, it's like I understand the heart of that statement, but on the other hand, it's like I think there's a difference between like wanting, like inviting in misunderstanding and the sense of like being confident with your philosophy, like we've talked about in the past, like in writing with that presence, versus like when you're reading something and it's like,
come on, dude. No, I'm glad that's not
Jung
something
kind
he
of
said.
does that. Right. Jung kind of does that too, where it's like, okay, I get it.
All right. I get it.
Calm down. Like you don't need to make this purposefully like obstructive. Going back to like accessibility.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to the archetype of the witch again. Men, when they have psychotic breaks like Jung did, and he wrote it in the Red Book, which granted I do think is a beautiful work and it's absolutely worth reading. Hello, Spinach. But he's so good.
I know.
He's so good.
You have anything to say, Spinach?
No, I really want him to meow into the mic.
I know. He has such good meows. I didn't know that Jung wrote the Red Book in like psychosis. Wait, what?
Yeah, it was like in the middle of a kind of psychotic break that he did throughout his work, and then he never published it. I don't think it was published until like 2009, because his family was like, don't put this out there, it's gonna make him look nutso.
The drawings in there are pretty sick.
Yeah, and I think it's worth looking at the archival version for sure. But there is a part of it that's like, oh, so he had a psychotic break and wrote this master genius work that no one could ever understand. But if like a woman did that, Joan of Arc is crazy and needs to be killed, right? It's like,
I don't think it's that bad now. Like, hey, there's so many times when I'm like, I'm losing my fucking mind. Like, it's so funny to me. There's actually, maybe I should try to find it because it's not funny now, but wait, no, what? It's funny in hindsight, but it wasn't funny then. But I literally wrote in my journal, these are all the wrong journals. See, never mind. But you don't need to see it. I can just tell you. You'll believe me. I wrote, like, there's just scrawled across an entire page, like, I think I'm actually losing my fucking mind. And like, I had a lot of really good ideas at that time. Like,
there you go.
So, and like, there are times when, like, some of my favorite poems that I've ever written are, I don't know how to say this in a way that won't get me in trouble.
Oh, there you go.
You
For
know what I mean?
viewers at home, it is a photo of a
Mycology is
fungus.
my passion.
Mycology is my passion. That's so
Um,
funny. But I think there's also a fine line between like genius and madness, right? Like, and
mhm.
I think that that line has been walked by so many like grand thinkers that I think on one hand, like to create something out of the depths of that is so impressive to me. And I agree that it's like that is where a lot of great insights come from. But also sometimes it can be romanticized in a harmful way too. Once
Yeah.
again, it's a little bit of both. And I think you're right. I was being a little too dramatic earlier. Like it's not that bad
No, you can
anymore.
be
But
dramatic. I mean, I'm sure it would spark judgment, but like Nietzsche was basically mad. Like he actually
yeah.
syphilis was destroying his brain, and he cried about animal abuse, and now everyone's like, "Ah, he's crazy. He kissed a horse. He made out with a horse or whatever." Like people think that's. I think he didn't kiss the horse. I think he
Well,
just
and
hugged it and
also,
cried.
even if he did, I'm like, how many times have I kissed my dog? Kissing
Yeah,
animals
right.
is all it takes to be crazy. Lock me up. Okay,
Oh, that's
before
funny.
we wrap up, one spooky thing that occurred to me throughout the episode that I was like, because I think even though we were like kind of planning on talking about spooky adjacent things, a lot of this is kind of the spookiness of the everyday and like the
Losing my
uncanny
mind is
of
the
the everyday.
spookiest thing that could
But
possibly
like,
happen.
it's very Edgar Allan Poe, right? Where some of those like the scariest things to read and watch or like The Shining, right? It is this mental thing. And even like you talked about in the very beginning with like childhood play dipping into scary, like there is this like line that you tip into. Um, but I wanted to ask you about ghosts. It's a
Let's talk
question
about it.
that I've been asking people recently because I have so many thoughts that are kind of ridiculous, but I think it's just a really fascinating question because it gets at the heart of a lot of people's like actual worldviews pretty
Mm-hmm.
quickly. Um,
Yeah, true. That is kind of
so
one of those questions that you can ask people and like kind of read into it a little bit more.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good one. I usually see my version of that as like aliens, which is
yeah,
kind of the same
exactly.
sort of
It is kind of,
question.
well, there was one person that I asked, ghosts, how do you define ghosts? Do you think ghosts are real? And he was like, ghosts are aliens. And I was like, whoa,
Yeah, ghosts are
okay.
aliens. No, I think so too. I go, if, first of all, do you think there are aliens? And if so, are they extraterrestrial or interdimensional? And interdimensional aliens is basically just
It's
ghosts.
just a ghost. Yeah.
But
So
I don't
how do
really
you
know.
define, and then based on your definition, real, not real?
I don't know. It's interesting because probably just because it's the spooky season, but lately I've been finding myself thinking like, man, I wish I could have some paranormal experiences. Like, I want to see some ghosts. And I don't know why. I think for some reason, like, I'm reading A Thousand Plateaus right now, and for some reason,
Oh,
reading that made me be like, man, I want to see some ghosts, which has nothing to do with the book. So I don't know. Maybe because it's like psychoanalysis adjacent. I don't know. But it's probably because it's October. What am I talking about? Uh but no, I mean, I don't think I believe in ghosts. I think I used to. I think I used to really be into witchy stuff, and I wanted to believe in ghosts, and I don't think I believe in ghosts. And then one of the main things is like after you die, like what's keeping the energy that animates your flesh suit, what's keeping it there? Well, not like what's
yeah.
keeping it together if not the flesh suit? Nothing. And like I don't really believe that there's like a soul that persists after you die, so it just becomes energy and just like diffuses into everything that is. And so I'm like, it doesn't really make sense to me that you could have an experience of one particular soul, you know?
Yeah.
So, but maybe like that leaves open the possibility of little sprinkles of energies that once were a particular person
Yeah.
kind of seeping into this dimension and
That's what I
being
was gonna
recognizable as such. I'm
ask is
I'm
like, then
open to
what
the
do you
possibility.
think? when people have those experiences, do you lean towards like there's some sort of energetic externality that is happening, or that is a like subconscious or like unconscious experience that that person is having in their own mind?
It could be so many things. It really could. And like, yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I think like I
Or do
have
you
one.
think it's a coincidence? That's also a
I don't
valid.
know. I mean, I'm open to the energetic exchange thing. I mean, I had one experience where like I saw something, like I saw like a figure, and I've been more inclined to say like it was an alien, but this was years ago. But like it looked so real that I was like, "Yo, dude, there's someone in your apartment. Like there's someone in your bathroom. Like there's a man in there." Like it looked like it wasn't like a shadowy mist. It was like a fucking person. But it wasn't a person. It was really weird. And um yeah. So that was the like weirdest experience that I've ever had, where like that experience alone kind of made me believe in all of this stuff for like a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I imagined it because it just looked so
Yeah.
fucking real. Um But I'm also like, maybe I did. I don't know. I don't fucking know, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just feel like it's not super consequential to decide either or. Like,
Yeah. I
maybe
don't
it's
think you
because
have
I'm
to
too
either.
seeped into the phenomenological tradition to care if it was really a physical, like, thing there, you know? Or if it was all
Yeah.
just, like, something I saw. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. So, sorry, that's not a really straightforward answer, but,
No, I kind of love
like,
that.
I would love to have a ghostly experience, but I just don't
And
know.
that one that you had, you wouldn't consider that like a ghostly experience. That was more of just like
That was an alien.
an alien. Okay.
No, yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, that was a weird situation, but the person I was hanging out with was also like
Oh,
if they were gonna like have some weird haunted spooky shit happen, like if it was gonna happen anywhere with anyone, it would be with them.
got it, got it, got it. Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
oh no, but then there was that other time when I was like getting really into the witch stuff. And but then it's like sleep paralysis demons. Are they really
Right.
there or are they in your head, you know?
Well,
Like,
and I think to me, I really agree with what you said about like being steeped in the phenomenological like interrogation of it, because I very much fall into the camp of like, well, even if it's in your head, isn't that real?
yeah, isn't that
Um,
so cool?
right. So it's like, well, okay, so it wasn't like a physical form, but non-material things create our physical forms. So what does real actually mean? And so I think it so depends on like how are we even defining the word ghost? And so I agree with you on that it's like, and does it really ultimately matter either way? Because people are having these experiences, and like even
Mm-hmm.
if you were like, I don't at this point I don't really know what that is, but it was something, but it wasn't like you wouldn't necessarily call it a ghost, but something happened.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like there maybe this is an idea that I've rehashed before, but I think it's a kind of a fun one. Like there are some topics in philosophy that feel indulgent. Like they're fun and they're entertaining, but I'm like this is kind of indulgent.
Yeah.
Is the metaphysical concept of a table really useful? Or should we just say that there are no tables and only particles arranged table-wise? And that would be a more functional way to live our lives. Obviously
Right.
not. No, but like
Yeah.
stuff like that, I'm like, these are just kind of fun little
Yeah.
games. It's
Yes.
indulgent.
Yeah.
And some people would say all philosophy is indulgent, and I would strongly disagree. But ghosts to me, ghosts and aliens, part of it aliens maybe I don't know. Part of it feels a little bit indulgent in a
Yeah.
like a playful way, a
I
playful
agree.
spooky way.
It's like
Um
philosophy dessert.
Yeah. It's like a little sweet treat.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't say that to trivialize it. Like, I'm just saying, like, it seems like one of these avenues of exploring the unknown and trying to make sense of things,
Yes.
which we humans we tend to do, that feels indulgent and spooky and fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But if you
I think
disagree, you or any of the people listening, if you have any spooky stories, please
yes, please
leave
tell
them in
us
the
spooky
comments.
stories. So one that I did want to share, I don't know if you remember this, but I was thinking about it the other day. But there was one time in high school where it was like when I first started getting into Lilith, actually, and like reading Lilith myths and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And being like, well, my first name is Lillian and la 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 la, being so annoying about it.
No.
But I remember there was one day, I forget how we even got on this, but we had the same dream the night before. And it was of the same, like, womanly figure with
long
the dark
black
black hair and white dress
Yeah.
in the woods. And we started talking about it, and I was like, shut up. And we just kept going back and forth. And I was like,
see, I don't remember the dream because I remember waking up and seeing that woman in my window or something, or like down.
oh.
I don't remember the dream.
Okay, so then maybe
Was there a dream?
I dreamed this. And I think, so maybe I dreamed it and it happened to you. So
what was your dream,
it's like,
though? I have goosebumps. It's so spooky.
Okay, so the weird thing is the dream was like looking up through a second-story window into like woods, and it was that like the figure of the woman. I don't have a window in my room that looks like that looks into woods like that.
Into woods.
Like the woman was like walking out of like a little forest looking area.
Dude, that's so scary.
And I just like, that is probably my spookiest ghost related thing.
So your dream was from the perspective like looking up at the window?
No, like I was standing at the window looking out of it, and on the ground, like 2 stories down, there was this woman, dark black hair, white dress, walking like forward towards the window.
It was through my
no driveway. Oh. No driveway for me, but...
Well, that is really spooky. Yeah, yeah, that was around that time that I was like, I was doing some weird stuff with like making all these weird diagrams with like sacred geometry stuff. And then our English teacher, Mr. Jones, was like, you know, just totally like feeding my delusions and being like, you opened a portal. That's serious shit.
That's my like spookiest paranormal experience.
I remember
the other thing that I think about a lot that's like a really strong experience for me was the night that my grandma passed away. Before I knew that she passed away, she visited me in a dream, which that a lot of people
No, that happened to my mom
experience.
as well.
Yeah.
With her, I guess it was her grandma because it was my great grandma. Yeah. And she had a dream. This grandma right here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. But yeah,
it
happened to your mom. She had a dream.
Yeah, no, that is a common thing. And then like waking up and it's like at the time of death, basically.
Yeah. I do think where I fall now is like it has to have something to do with time. Like there's some way that time is getting wonky and funky, or like dimensions or something that is overlapping in a weird way, and the energy of your mind is like glitching. Like I almost think of ghosts as like a glitch in the Matrix, where it's like, whoa, some way that we're interpreting
some
this.
Sort of like radio interference
Exactly.
Situation.
And I think 9 times out of 10, we experience that as scary because it is so unknown. And it's like, the world shouldn't happen like that. That's not how things work. And then when you get into actual like demons and exorcism, I think a lot of the history around that, and not to discount any experiences now, but if you look back in like the history of like the Vatican and the Catholic Church and exorcisms, I do think a lot of that is demonizing people with mental health struggles.
Probably.
So I think it gets more complicated.
Demons or something. I'm like, That's crazy. Like, that's...
Right? But
I
so
don't
I guess
know.
when I
Like,
say
maybe
ghosts, I
what I
also
saw
mean like
was...
paranormal, like things that
Oh, yeah.
are metaphysically happening.
Yeah. I mean, maybe my experience was just like the person that I was with was just like they
Yeah.
had not good energy. And I don't know, something
There's
about that
some,
was externalized. But
yeah.
honestly, and they had like this weird tapestry on their wall that I can't remember the exact guy's name. He was like the OG guy in the occult. His name was like John something, occult, whatever. John? God, AI is so stupid sometimes.
Yeah.
John D. Okay, I was on the... Hey,
Oh,
my brain's still there. My brain's still there. She's right there. This thing?
John D. Sigil.
That thing?
Oh,
Which isn't like,
interesting.
it's whatever, like it's the same sort of stuff that I was doing in high school, like trying to
Yeah.
like chart stuff out and,
Yeah.
basically being like, oh, this thing is similar to this thing and they match together on the chart, so I'm a genius,
I did see something the other day that was like, looking back at all of my like realizations in high school was just pattern recognition.
Yeah, no,
And I was
exactly.
like, I fear this is calling
I feel
me
attacked.
out.
No,
Yeah.
no, that was literally me though in high school, being like,
But not to undermine, like, some of the charting stuff that you did is really cool, though. Like,
no, it looked really cool, but I'm
and
like,
there are patterns that are similar that does carry emphasis too. But sorry,
Yeah.
continue with your story. Whoa.
What was my story? Oh yeah, but he had a tapestry of that on his wall, which is like, I don't know, I don't know. Like, he was kind of like dabbling in a lot of different spiritual practices, and like I used to be like a witch in high school, as an angsty teen girl. That's why
Yeah.
not? Not to diminish witches, but like,
I was say I use that title now. I think it's like whatever archetype titular things feel empowering and make you feel good, go for it.
But at the time I was definitely like, yeah, I do witchcraft. I'm not like other girls, it was but no, like I took it seriously.
Yeah.
But like it got to a point where I was like, I really don't know what the fuck I'm doing. This is like if this is legit, then it's way more complex than I can ever really know. And so that's when I started getting into the charts and like sacred geometry and stuff to try to like wrap my head around it fully.
Yeah.
And then ideally you could use those types of charts to make talismans and stuff like that.
But like systematizing
I don't
something.
mean to, like, I'm not trying to like be like, haha, witches are... That's such a...
No,
you know what I mean?
no. Yeah.
I'm just kind of a little bit of a self-deprecating humor, but it's not funny because it's also because you're also yeah.
But
you know
no,
what I
mean? I think it is one. There is something humorous about certain things that it's like, whoa, do we really think like when I sit down to like do some sort of like ritual or whatever, and I'm like, do I really think that like burning this leaf is going to have some sort of greater effect? Like there is a sense of like laughing at myself in that way, but then settling back into my metaphysics and like, well, if I believe that it does, and obviously that's a way oversimplification of it, but another thing that I deeply believe about like quote unquote witchcraft is that it is to me, it is almost like an art form of practicing my philosophy now, is kind of how I think about it. Like,
cool.
If I can engage with my metaphysics and this belief in the connection between the imaginal and the real in this way, like I'm kind of playing with the boundaries of reality and seeing what I can do in a playful way.
Yeah.
And I think different people have different worldviews about how and why it works. And then, of course, you get into like new agey manifestation and like new thought versus like ancestral lineage and more like animistic or tribal traditions. But I think ultimately, like, it kind of goes back to what is your philosophy of mind and your personal phenomenology, and how does that apply to ritual practice that you do. And in that sense, all religions are witchcraft. All witchcraft is a religion.
Yeah.
All spiritualities are like a collection of behaviors that we do to create and make meaning.
Yeah.
Call it whatever, you want.
Call it whatever
And
you
like
want, but
witch is a helpful title for me. Magician I like too, but I also like philosopher and thinker, and I also like even doing tarot readings for people who absolutely don't believe in it and laugh at me at the end. I'm like, I don't care,
Oh,
because like that happens. It's
oh,
happened a couple
no.
times. Well, the worst thing that's ever
Oh.
happened to me is someone that I thought was my friend said that I wasn't allowed to go near their kids.
What?
And I said,
because they were
oh.
like, you're a witch? Is that why?
And I was like, excuse me, like, why?
Damn.
And he was like, well, his wife's name doesn't really like the tarot card thing. And I was
the tarot
like,
card thing. I mean, hey, props to him for, I guess, like,
being
I
a
don't know.
united front with his wife at
Right,
bare
that's
minimum.
that's important.
But yes. So
Yeah,
it's
I
just,
mean,
it's still.
because you've read my tarot cards, and I was like,
yeah,
dude.
Thank
But I mean,
you.
then it's like, you know me pretty well, so.
It's
But-
also, yeah. Well, and
But like, even
I'm
stuff
the first.
that we hadn't like discussed, even.
Yeah.
Like
But
specific
I'm the
events
first
and
to say
whatnot.
that, like, yeah, I use cold reading techniques. I am, like, reading your face, and
Right.
also I try and be very honest about, like, I did a few readings at an event last week, and there was one reading that was, like, so confusing to me, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna be honest, this energy is weird to me, and I don't really know what's going on. I'm just gonna say, like, what's coming to me, but, like, you may have a block up. Like, I don't know if you don't like tarot, or if, like, this isn't for you, or if there's something that, like, your subconscious is, like, protecting you from going into. But something's confusing to me, and maybe I'm just not picking up on it, but, like, I'll just say what it is. And at the end, he was like, okay, thanks, and then just left. So I was kind of like, I think he just had a block up, and it was weird, but also it's like, that's part of the game of anything. Like, even when you're to me, it's like giving a tarot reading is also like making friends. Like, you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. You're not going to be able to, like, hit everyone, you know?
Yeah.
So, and if someone doesn't want to go there, it's like, well, I'm not going to violate your energetic boundary. So, yeah. It's interesting, but I think ultimately, like, I mean, the whole point of the podcast is living out our philosophy, and I think that, like, your painting is very much that. Tarot has become a piece of that for me, and this podcast, I think, I would like to think, is a piece of that for both of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I love spooky stories. We should talk about ghosts and stuff more. I mean, it's just something that I haven't thought about in so long. But maybe this will be part of my
rekindling,
reconstructing my neural pathways. Maybe I'll lean more into the ghosts and the goblins and the ghouls.
The ghouls,
maybe.
Philosophies for the ghouls.
Well, that's good.
Thank you. Okay, well, anything else before we sign off?
Thanks again for totally being on board with dressing up as Klee puppets. I've been
last
laughing.
Outfit show off for everyone.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's
been really fun to just, like, look up and be like, yeah, but no,
it's
like,
just so hard to take myself seriously. I'd be like, no, but I've really been struggling with this imposter syndrome thing. And then I look back and
I'm like, how do we dismantle the systems of oppression? Yeah. And my mouth looks like this. Yeah. No, this is great. This is so fun.
Yeah, this was fun.
I hope everyone's having a great spooky season Halloween time. And if y'all be interested in more spooky goings-ons or talk about witchy stuff, like I said, for me, it's deeply become a practice of philosophy. So we could do, like, more about the philosophy of that kind of stuff too. Yeah, let us know.
Hope everyone has a fun and safe Halloween.
Yes. And we will catch y'all next time. Thank you. Hello.
Goodbye.
It's not
Sunday.
It's not Sunday. And you're welcome.
You're welcome.
The Unwritten Aesthetic is a bi-weekly podcast from the Cohere Collective that features philosophical artist or artistic philosopher Lauren Bush and question asker and meaning maker Reese Brown. Please subscribe to The Unwritten Aesthetic wherever you may be listening, and if you enjoyed the episode, consider leaving us a like, a 5-star rating, and or a review. And sharing the episode is a really wonderful way to kickstart meaningful conversations in your own life. If you want to stay up to date on all things The Unwritten Aesthetic, you can follow the Cohere Collective on any social media platform at the Cohere Collective, and check out our other content and offerings at thecoherecollective.com. To explore Lauren's work, head to laurenbushpaints.com and follow her on Instagram and YouTube at laurenbushpaints. If you're interested in working with Reese to find and pursue your purpose, head to thecoherecollective.com to explore life coaching options. A huge thank you to Jack Corbett for the Unwritten Aesthetics music, and thank you all for being here today and exploring the Unwritten Aesthetic with us. As always, we hope you feel like you are living more coherently. Until next time, love.